My Lords, I'd really like to congratulate the Noble Lord, Lord Murray of Blidworth, for tabling these amendments, because I think that they talk to maybe some of the concerns that have been raised informally, both at second reading and throughout committee, by some of us that maybe have not been explicitly looked at. And so I support the spirit very much of this group. Constant concerns that I've had about the bill are the unintended consequence of this legislation damaging the informal realm of civil society and the public square. The invaluable arena of community life that allows social cohesion, sometimes quite loose local gatherings, are often organised by groups of volunteers and voluntary gatherings. But they really are, even though they're quite loose, informal organisations, they actually are the cement that holds society together in many ways. In that sense, they're loose. They're not paid, they're not professional necessarily, but they're actually the very heart of our communities. I think we got a sense of that actually the other day at committee when the Noble Lord de Morley's speech about public protection procedures, and he painted a really vivid picture of the widest range of public activities that could be affected. And for any of us who work with small literature festivals, things that I know something about, arts exhibitions in local areas that are put on regularly, debating groups getting together. I was down at the farmers' protest today, and this might not endear me to the government, although maybe it will, but they have been having lots of local gatherings in barns up and down the country, planning their action. And these, in a way, and that's what we want politics to be like. These are the very people who are our most active and engaged citizens. Now, in the kind of arts, debate, politics sphere, one of the things that's always really difficult is to encourage people, for example, to take on roles of trustees or chairs of committees and so on, because these are unpaid roles and with responsibilities. And it's difficult as it goes, but there are people who are prepared to do it. The reason why these amendments are important is because it tries to probe whether we can ensure that we don't make it more difficult to keep those people involved by the potential of this bill threatening them for a liability way beyond that which they might have signed on to. Not because they're all going to wander around being irresponsible about the threat of terrorist attacks in the barn meeting with the farmers, if you know what I mean. It's not like that they're kind of inviting in recklessly any awful things to happen, but they just will go, well, I'm not going to formally put my name to that, because why would I? And often people are retired, or they're doing it as public citizens, and it's too much hassle. And how do I know that, by the way, apart from talking to lots of people, is because, exactly as the Minister has rightly noted, the government, both this government and the government before it, this bill has had a lot of consultation and a lot of discussion. And the one thing that consistently gets raised in all of the evidence that I've read is that small organisations and community organisations are frightened of this legislation. And one of the key things they mention is that it will put people off volunteering for their organisations. And the Noble Lord, the Minister, is right to, I'm glad, has said, we listened. You know, we listened to a lot of those consultations. But you didn't listen to all of them. You didn't agree with all of them. That's fair enough. I think it's perfectly reasonable to raise things that came up consistently in all the consultations, to ask you to think again at this point, with some very creative, positive, probing, constructive amendments. What can we do to reassure those people who are our most active and engaged citizens that this bill won't threaten them? So I would ask the government to take these amendments away and see if you could come up with a constructive response to them.